Hello and welcome to Learn, Do, Become Radio. I'm April Perry, and today we're talking about the good enough strategy that actually works for busy, high-achieving individuals. If you're new here at Learn, Do, Become, we help people who are overwhelmed by the details of life to create simple systems so they can do what matters most. And I am genuinely here to support you so you can live a life where you wake up excited, you go to bed content, you have a list of things you actually get done. You don't feel like your lists and routines govern you, and you can be present with the people and the purpose and all the wonderful things that you are taking care of and pursuing. Okay, so today I'm just going to start out with a few celebrations from our community, and then we will dive into this good enough strategy that I cannot wait to share with you today. Celebration number 1 is from Jody, and she said, I asked my son to go through a couple of boxes that we pulled out of his closet before going back to college. Found a $50 gift card. The previous day, my other son found his childhood wallet still with money in it. I told them, you almost always find money when you clean out clutter. I love that. So go, Jody, and congratulations to your sons. That's awesome. Next is from Kay. Now I'm going to put the pictures on the show notes page, but Kay transformed her desktop after we did this digital decluttering workshop inside of our STEP program, Steps to Everyday Productivity. And so you need to come to the show notes to see the pictures, but she has a before and a during and an after. And instead of just having a whole bunch of folders and files and everything just kind of all over the desktop, now she has things organized with the appropriate things on the left, a few things in the middle, a few things on the right. But her screen number 2 is totally clear now. Anyway, it looks so good. So you just need to come see it because it's fun to be able to see how other people organize their digital, resources, and hopefully you could do the same. And then this final one is from Catherine, and she said, okay, I'm getting there. Here's a before and after. And again, I would love for you to see the photos if you come to the show notes page. But on the before photo, you can just see, it's like you can't really see the top of the desk at all. There's boxes, there's papers, there's a lamp, there's a whole bunch of kind of file things, but they are stuffed full. A lot of organizers, like desk organizers that just, again, stuff full. And then on her after, it's like you can see the top of the desk. Everything is beautiful. You can tell that the organizing resources are actually being utilized and things are easy to pull from them. She's got her planner out on the desk. It looks so good. So it just, when you look at these before and afters, you can just breathe and it feels amazing. So way to go, Catherine. Thank you for letting us share. It's so fun. Okay, now let's go ahead and talk about this good enough strategy. Now, I included in the title that this works for busy, high-achieving individuals because that's who I find often comes to Learn, Do, Become wanting systems to help organize because they have a lot going on and they want to do a really good job. And they're not someone who just sits around doing nothing. These are the people who are doing everything. But then often their mental clarity isn't there. Their mental space is completely cluttered. They feel overwhelmed and they just think, I need relief. I'm so busy. I can't stop. I can't get off this treadmill. I can't give up on the things that matter most and I'm exhausted. Okay, so let's dive in. First point is that there are so many things that can stop us from making progress. And at Learn, Do, Become, we truly want to help you out of that overwhelm to do what matters most. But what matters most really does come under attack. Often it can be urgent needs of a person that you care about, or an overwhelming number of texts, emails, notifications, or things that will keep you busy, right? All the stuff on your phone. And then there's health issues or emotional issues or just the entropy of everyday life. Like our refrigerator isn't working right. So we're trying to take care of that. Or I hurt my foot and had to go to get physical therapy. I mean, it's all this kind of stuff that just happens. And I understand this because if I'm not incredibly deliberate, my days, weeks, and months can absolutely just slip away with just stuff. Spinning in circles, doing so much stuff. Also, perfectionism comes from a good place, but it's one of the biggest progress stoppers of all. And I find it especially impacts high achievers. And so that's why I'm bringing this up today. Now, in our minds, we know that perfectionism isn't helping us move forward. And, even here at Learn, Do, Become, we talk about architecting a life of excellence. But if we aren't wise, we can think that we're creating excellence by waiting until just the perfect time to do those things that we know will make a difference in our lives. So you'll think like, oh, organize the office? Sure. Once I've got nothing else on my calendar for 3 consecutive weeks. Or get that certification. Oh yeah, when my family challenges subside, I will definitely do that. Or start eating right. Yes, as soon as my stress level goes down, I'm going to eat all the best foods. And now, of course, we can't do everything at once. And of course, we need to honor the pressures we're currently facing so we don't overwhelm ourselves with way too many expectations. But we all know that the perfect day and the perfect time and the perfect family and the perfect circumstances don't actually exist. But there is one secret weapon in all of this that I believe deserves to be emphasized. Now, I talk a lot about the STEP Command Central here at LearnDoBecome, and that's definitely a tool that I use to manage all the stuff of life. But even if we have all of the files and folders and lists set up, our heads can stop us with things like distraction and procrastination. But the secret weapon I'm sharing today truly has the power to help us make immediate progress and simultaneously beat our tendencies towards perfectionism. And this good enough strategy is called doing something mediocre every day. Okay. Now, this doesn't mean everything we do is mediocre. I definitely need to caveat this secret weapon because I don't want to be a mediocre wife, mom, neighbor, coach, podcaster, friend, sister, etc. And I don't want to go to a mediocre doctor or have a mediocre plumber fix my sink. No. In fact, Eric and I were talking about this, and he suggested I replace the word mediocre with the word acceptable, meaning that we work towards a good standard without getting paralyzed by that goal of being perfect. This also reminds me of the word satisfice that I've spoken about several times before. That satisfice, this is from Wikipedia, is a decision-making strategy that involves selecting the first option that meets minimum requirements rather than searching for the optimal or best solution. Now, this was coined by Nobel laureate Herbert Simon, and it's a blend of satisfy and suffice. It represents a good enough approach that saves time, effort, and cognitive resources. So the reason I use the word mediocre, however, is because I heard it over lunch with a couple of friends who are family therapists. They work with a lot of perfectionistic college students, and they shared that one key to improved mental health is to actively work to do something mediocre every day. Like, shoot for it. Make that an actual goal. Because when you do, you push the limits of your comfort zone, you give yourself grace, and you make progress. Now, I'm just going to pause for a moment. Even me recording this podcast right now, there have been like 4 times already I thought, I should stop and re-record. But when I do that, it ends up taking me like 3 times as long to record the podcast because I keep second guessing myself, and then I'm starting all over, and then I need to go get a drink of water. So today I'm embracing satisfice. I have, half hour before we have a step coaching call, and I have the podcast all ready and all my notes prepared. I thought, you know what? I'm just going to sit down and record, and I'm going to do one take because it's going to be good enough. I mean, especially for this episode, if I went back and re-recorded this one and spent 4 hours trying to make the perfect episode about satisficing and a good enough approach and being mediocre, I mean, hypocrite, right? So it's actually a benefit for me to make mistakes and keep moving. Okay. Sorry, that just hit me. That was funny. Okay. So diving a little deeper, a willingness to be, mediocre, or I could just say good enough or acceptable. That's how our STEP program was born. Now, you might be new here wondering, well, what's your STEP program? Okay, Steps to Everyday Productivity is our signature program here at LearnDoBecome. Helps you to build a system. We call it a command central. You can call it whatever you want. And it helps you organize your mind and your life. But it would probably not exist. No, it would definitely not exist if I'd waited for it to be perfect. But over the last 10 years, tens of thousands of people have become steppers. And we receive testimonials every day about how it's changing lives. Just this morning, I messaged Michelle and I was like, Michelle, I love this beautiful system you put a picture of and what you're creating, and I love the energy. I love what I'm seeing the steppers do. So awesome. Okay. But I want to take you a little behind the scenes and show you what was happening when I first created the STEP program. So Eric and I had just started LearnDoBecome. This is a decade ago. And this was our dream. We're living our dream right now. We wanted to work together. Eric had been off working a job outside the home. I was home full time with our children. We had this dream. What if we could work from home together and we could share raising the children and share the housework and share the business? And this could be our thing. So our family could be together. That was the dream. I'm not saying everyone should work together, but for me and Eric, it was the dream. It is the dream. Hasn't always been easy. I'll caveat that. Okay, so anyway, our dreams. We're working together. We're going to build this community online that we could serve. Now, LearnDoBecome is not just about organization and productivity, but we knew that would be part of what we offered here. And we knew we wanted to adapt the program I had made just for moms to a broader audience. I used to run a program called Mind Organization for Moms that was just specifically for mothers to get their homes and their children's schedules and take care of themselves. But we had so many people saying, well, I'm not a mom. Can I be part of this? Or, people just from all different walks of life. So we knew we wanted to make this new version, and we knew we wanted to call it STEP. But there was so much going on in our lives. We were preparing to move to a different state with our 4 children. So we had 3 who were going to be in high school, and then we had a middle schooler. And my mom was in the last stages of Alzheimer's. She lived about an hour from us, and I was taking the children to visit her every week. And I knew she didn't have that much longer to live. So I was trying to enjoy her and be present, plus trying to move away when you're saying goodbye to your mom at the same time. There was a lot of emotion there. I'm sure you can understand. And we also had some time-intensive roles in our church community. We volunteer, and we think it's really important. We believe it's important to be able to serve other people within church and community capacities. And so we were doing that, but we did have some time-intensive responsibilities. And I was working with 2 other organizations online. So I was balancing everything as well as I could, but it was just a lot. And sitting down and creating a whole new program, that was not even on my radar. It's I am just trying to get through, each day and the responsibilities I already have. But one day, Eric said, what if we taught a webinar for the STEP program and just offered module 1? And then we could tell people that the next modules would be delivered 1 per week until the whole program was finished. And I knew it was going to have 8 modules. So within 8 weeks, it could be done. And this idea initially felt really scary because each module needed audios, videos, transcripts, written instructions, pictures, etc. I wanted it to be good. I wanted to feel proud of my work and not just I threw something up there. But Eric was in a position where he had the energy to organize and do all the marketing. And I knew if I kept things simple, I could easily just create the program by doing it in bite-sized pieces and just get it shipped, get it done. And this was going to help us because then it would enable us to be able to bring in the funds that we needed in order to move, and it would be helpful for our family overall. Okay, now the program has been redesigned several times since then, but if you were to go back and look at my very first modules in our STEP library as part of our STEP Mastery program, we have archived versions of the program that we keep there. And so if you go back and you look at my very first modules, you can see crayon drawings I photographed. So when I was trying to explain how something should look, I literally drew it with crayons. And then I got out my digital camera and took a picture of it because I didn't know how to use our scanner. And I didn't know how to find a designer. That just felt complicated. And so literally I started it with crayons. And I had really simple videos that I recorded just from my phone. I didn't have a lapel microphone, and I didn't even have a tripod. So I propped up my phone on books on my desk so I could film myself. And it was really simple audios from me and Eric. I put bullet points together for us, and then we would record from a couple of like $20 microphones that we got on Amazon. And then the written instructions in the program were just really, really simple. So was the program mediocre? I mean, by my standards, yeah, I was like, it was good, but I thought if I had 3 more months, I would have made it spectacular. But did it help people? And did we start receiving testimonials right away? And did it launch us on the path that we're on now, where we keep improving step by step and where we're not afraid to try? So absolutely, it did all those things. And I share all of this because this same pattern has played out in every area of my life. Everything I truly value today, my marriage to Eric, being a mother and now a grandmother, Nana, April, and being able to have LearnDoBecome and my faith. I mean, everything that I value got started because I wasn't afraid to be mediocre, imperfect, right? Just acceptable. So if right now you're thinking, okay, but what if, you got these questions in your mind, let's kind of roll with that for a minute. I get it. I've been there too. You might be wondering things like, what if people criticize me? Or what if I get a reputation for being mediocre? That becomes my new identity. Or what if I stop having standards altogether and I just turn into a big failure? Okay. So my personal opinion is that if we're even asking these questions, it means those things won't happen because we're going to be watching out. We're still going to be putting in beautiful work and beautiful energy. We're not just going to create garbage and try to have it, passed off as something good. Now, once you have your step system in place, if you haven't yet built your system that organizes all of your projects and routines and tasks and thoughts and papers and digital tasks, all the stuff of life, once you have your step system, you'll have more support when it comes to deciding on your projects and routines or breaking down next actions and setting yourself up for success. I don't want to ignore the fact that your identity is going to change, though, because that might feel a little scary or even very scary to you. Because you're likely known as someone who is impressive, who has it all together, and who does so much that others just have their jaw open when they hear all that you've been up to. But we all know that that isn't sustainable. And I promise that changing your identity into something that is truly healthy will be well worth the effort. And I say this as carefully as I can and with as much love as I can, because there is this common theme out in society, especially on social media. I mean, it's loud and it's a little obnoxious, but it's this idea that you need to be pushing it, excelling at everything. You need to be receiving praise from everyone. You need to show no flaws. You need to just embody perfection, and you need to hide the reality that's happening behind the scenes. You need to hide the fallout of what's actually going on with your health. You need to hide the challenges that are happening in your marriage or in your relationships. You need to put the visual and the superficial things front and center and stand behind that vision of perfection as your identity. And that's how you're going to be important. But what I will say is that is not the reality that any of us actually enjoy living. And that's not the key to happiness. And we know it inside, but we don't know how to get off of it. And we don't know how to let go. But my job and what's burning in my heart, what I feel I need to do as I speak and podcast and write and do things here at LearnDoBecome and in the world is that I need to help take the good that we all feel to be excellent, to contribute, to have purpose. And we need to learn together how to do this in a very healthy, sustainable way that actually brings joy. Not just to ourselves, but then to our families, our loved ones, the community. And I know it's hard when you're in the middle of it and you're thinking, oh, I'm not going to drop that ball. April says to be mediocre, but I'm not going to be mediocre. I'm going to find a way to do everything and be absolutely perfect, but I will never run out of energy and I won't be human. And you can play that for a while. You can play that game and you can work on that for a while. And if it's working for you, then totally up to you. But I will say from my own personal experience and from what I've seen in the world and being in some of the rooms with people who made it look like they had the perfect life and who millions of people assume they did. I've been in actual rooms with those people, hearing them say that that was the most miserable they've ever been. I've talked to some of their spouses and heard what was actually going on. And I'm not saying you can't have millions of, have influence and be amazing and all of that. And then it just means your marriage and family and your personal life is just, going to go downhill. But I'm saying you need to be very, very discerning and very wise, because I think Greg McKeown, the author of Essentialism, he'll say, like, we've been sold a bill of goods. Like, it's this lie, and that you can do everything. Okay, so I'm going to pause. I'll get off my soapbox for a little bit, but I just want to acknowledge that I know this is a deep part of our identity that does need to change. But I want to just step into a very practical example and share something that has been a game changer for us inside of our STEP program. So it's called Function Before Fancy. Essentially, it means you build your system so it's functional first, and you don't get all stressed out if the pieces don't match your desk or you don't have your walls painted your ideal shade of blue or whatever. You can use cereal boxes, file folders, painter's tape. I mean, let it be ugly, even embarrassingly ugly, but get started and build something. In fact, I reached out to Coach Taryn on our team. She coined this phrase, function before fancy, and I asked how she came up with it. And she said, it was something that came to my mind as we were preparing for the most recent STEP revamp. I kept seeing how steppers were getting stuck on wanting to have everything perfect and pretty, and they were letting that perfectionism stop them from progressing. They wanted their command centrals to look exactly like yours, or somehow it didn't count and wouldn't work. And I'll just pause here for a second. So my command central is like my 4th iteration, and I just use certain cubbies and certain inbox, and I think it's pretty. A neighbor friend of mine helped me make it look pretty. And it's because this style and these pieces work for me. And over time, this is what I built. My very first command central, though, was literally a card table and anything I could cobble together. And I got it functional. And then I made it something that was beautiful. Okay, that was a little pause there. But people would see my command central and they might not even need all of the resources or paper. Maybe they're more digital and all they need is like one little thing for folders. But they felt like, oh, if I don't have April's command central, then mine, obviously doesn't work. Okay. Then Taryn added the phrase function before fancy, and she added hashtag function before fancy because we've been using that in our group. She said, popped into my head a day or two before Aaliyah and I drove down to brainstorm with you. We had this little meeting together. I loved the thought. It's a way to help our members push through the before fancy or pretty items. Isn't that great? Okay, so excited for her. And so excited for what she's brought to the whole community, because now it's actually a step in our program, like it's right at the beginning. You have to commit to function before fancy. And now our steppers use that phrase or the hashtag when they post photos of their first setups. It's nothing to be embarrassed about. In fact, it's exactly the opposite. Like, look what I just did. They did something, and that's what gives us momentum. So, kind of in closing, what is a first step towards something meaningful that you could take this week? You personally might not be building a step system right now, but it's likely that there's something that you need or want that feels so far from perfect that you're avoiding it altogether. Or I will say, maybe I should have brought this up at the beginning, there may be something that you are currently working on in order to make it perfect, but you're robbing time from your sleep, your health, your loved ones in order to chase this perfectionism. So function before fancy, it works in both ways. It either helps someone move forward if they're stalled, or it helps someone pull back if they're overachieving. right? So is there something you think, oh, function before fancy, what could I do? Is there a mediocre way that you could get started? And could you feel genuinely proud of yourself in the process? So I'd love to hear your thoughts and your success stories in the comments if you want to come to the show notes page. And I just want you to remember that the fact that you're even here speaks volumes. You know that you want more for your life, and you're taking ownership of that. But you also know that you're not willing to sacrifice the things that matter most for the shallow success that you could show other people. You want something that actually is going to be sustainable and will make an impact. And I feel like that's rare these days. And so we are so, so happy to have you here with us. We gathered with our risers last night. Ali and I were doing a little bonus class on like the projects and routines that help us with the like financial management and reaching financial goals. And it's so fun because every time we gather with our risers, it's like, okay, we're soul friends. We're creating this wonderful, healthy, nurturing group of peers where we're not getting caught up in everything that the world's trying to tell us is important. We're trying to focus on truly what matters so we can make an impact. We can support our loved ones. We can be wise when we face challenges. It's beautiful, and we love our community so much. So if you are thinking, okay, well, what do you guys do here at LearnDoBecome? How can we get involved? All right. So our free resources, obviously we've got the podcast and YouTube channel and a free newsletter we send out and a welcome kit. So I have links to all of that on our show notes page. You can come. That's kind of the learning free, we try to be as generous as we possibly can to help lift you and inspire you with all the resources here. Then we have our Steps to Everyday Productivity program. If you're thinking, I do need to build a STEP Command Central, I do need a system in place, then you can come learn about that. We even have a coaching program. I'm jumping into a call in a few minutes where we work with you. We have 3 live events a month, and you get personal text or email coaching from a Team LearnDoBecome member. So you can build your system and you can get fully organized. And then the Arise membership is where we help you then take that organization, those skills. Now you've kind of got the house clean, you're feeling good, you've got systems in place. Now we're going to help you create that balance where you can wake up excited, go to bed content. We're going to look at the balance of our lives. How do we build relationships and well-being and a financial foundation and purpose and have a connection with our higher power and stay organized, but in a way that's actually sustainable and beautiful. So that's what we do in Arise. So all the links to that are on the show notes page. And then I'm just going to close with a few more celebrations. So Frances, she is such a great example of function before fancy. She was setting up her Command Central, and she decided as she was organizing her tasks and her mind sweep, she put them all on a piece of paper. And then as she would move them to the appropriate place in her system, she had like painter's tape, and she would just cover it with painter's tape so she couldn't see it. It didn't look all scratched out. It just looked nice. So I have a little picture of that. You can see it was a beautiful example of function before fancy. So way to go, Frances. Then Karen said, thank you again for modernizing the GTD system into STEP. So GTD is David Allen's Getting Things Done. That was like a book that inspired me. STEP makes it more visual, step by step, works for families. So she said, thank you for modernizing that with all the great ongoing content. I finished the program and I listened to your podcast and just wanted to again show my gratitude and give others support. I can attest, if you work the fundamentals of the system, you will get out of the feeling of, quote, overwhelm. It has been awesome to see the piles decrease, the inbox stay clean, and projects have momentum, all while in a great state of mind. Recently, I was asked to host a neighborhood party, and because of STEP, I was able to plan effectively, prepping my home for a party, getting a number of projects done, I cleaned, etc., and when the day came, we were just relaxing and able to enjoy ourselves and our guests because of all the context-based next actions lists and projects ensured we never were working on too much at any time. Thanks again. So Karen, I love it. Thank you for embodying what STEP is all about. And I love that you were able to be present for your event and for the people there and find joy. It's beautiful. And then there's the last one. You need to come look at the show notes page, see the picture, but it's from Tammy. And she said, more progress. I so appreciate the ideas, suggestions, and support here. And then she shows this table, and she said the before picture didn't capture all the things crammed under the table, but you can see there's this table that was completely full, and it looked like it had like baskets and boxes and papers and pens and pencils and booklets and like all kinds of things. And then the next picture just shows this table totally clear and organized, and it's just so nice. And then the desk in the background has the file folders and resources and things that she needed. So you just see this beautiful picture, and it's so fun. So great job, Tammy. All right. Thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you for the good that you're doing in your life. Again, part of me wants to go back and edit. I'm like, oh, was I too harsh on people? Did I share my opinions too strongly? Did I I second guess myself sometimes too. And I think, oh, maybe if I recorded this podcast one more time, it would sound better and I could do it shorter or something. But I'm going to go ahead and just today, this podcast is my mediocre attempt. Actually, I won't say mediocre. I put a lot of heart and love into this in preparation. I will say some of my efforts feel a little mediocre, but there's a lot of love. And this is a good enough podcast that I hope will inspire you. Okay. So come to our show notes page, LearnDoBecome.com/episode 323. And you can get links to all the great stuff we talked about. I hope you'll immerse yourself in Learn, Do, Become, because these principles are going to change your life and can make a big impact for you moving forward. And you deserve that. There's great stuff ahead for you. And the world needs you. Okay, see you soon at LearnDoBecome.com.